I have to ask, are you running for president?
Well, I'm a 501c4 right now. That's my legal status. Our America Initiative. It's an advocacy committee. I'm the honorary chairman, which allows me to raise money and speak out on the issues of the day. And as part of my legal status, I can't be talking about running for political office. So sorry for the cop-out, but I just don't want to get sideways with my legal status.
Is it fair to say you're considering it?
Well, yeah, but again, I don't want to step over any sort of line that gets me in trouble.
All right. And you're in town this week for CPAC, of course, the Conservative Political Action Conference. You gave a speech this morning talking about how you became a popular two-term governor in New Mexico, even though it's a largely Democratic state. But you did receive a speaking slot rather late in the game at CPAC, and I noticed after the speech they started playing some music as if to hasten your speech. And you know, with all that in mind, I'm wondering if you feel that your message, your viability as a national political figure has been underestimated at all.
Well, again, I have no complaints with the way that I was treated at CPAC. I'm just under the belief right now that that Republicans need to grow their base. I'm under the belief right now that Republicans are the only party that are capable of getting us out of the problems that we currently face, which I would say is bankruptcy, the fact that we do need to balance the budget. We need to balance the budget tomorrow. I'm believing that we might be on the verge of an imminent financial collapse unless this gets achieved. Now, why would Americans give Republicans control of the Senate and the presidency when that did happen last decade and Republicans passed a prescription health care benefit, which at that time was the largest entitlement that had ever been passed, and ran up record deficits then? My point here is that both parties can share in responsibility for where we're at financially.
Do you think that any of the leaders in Washington on the Republican side or President Obama will step up and touch the entitlements or defense spending?
Well, they have to be touched, and the talk that is currently taking place about touching them doesn't go far enough at all. We're insolvent. We're bankrupt. We need to cut $1.5 trillion from the federal budget if we're just going to balance revenues with expenditures.
One thing I haven't heard much discussed at CPAC yet so far is the situation in Egypt. I'm wondering what your perspective on it is as a libertarian politician, and also how you think the administration has done in their response so far.
Well, one of the, and not to sound naive, but we're supporting governments that we're openly acknowledging right now are corrupt, but that somehow one government, Mubarak's government, is less corrupt than another one might be. We're picking winners and losers with our foreign policy.
And can you give an example of a corrupt government that we shouldn't be supporting?
Well, Mubarak's, that there is an acknowledgement that the Mubarak administration has been corrupt. There's an acknowledgement that the Afghanistan government is corrupt, and yet we somehow are making a judgment that one government is going to be less corrupt than another.
On Afghanistan, I know you've said that we could be out of there tomorrow. I think I already said. Do you think that there really isn't much of a security threat there for us to address anymore, or?
Well, first of all, I do advocate getting out of Afghanistan tomorrow. I thought that initially when we went into Afghanistan, I thought that was completely warranted. That was a military strike against Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda, and I think we are at war with Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda and should remain vigilant to the terrorist threat. But we could talk for the next hour about all of the problems associated with us getting out of Afghanistan tomorrow. I would just suggest we will have that same conversation 25 years from now if that's when we decide to get out. We can't continue to nation build when we have our own nation to build.
The issue of national security certainly came to a head at CPAC yesterday. Do you think the Republican Party is going to, have more of a dialogue on Afghanistan or these issues in the coming years?
The whole entire country has to have a dialogue about what constitutes a strong national defense. And I believe in a strong national defense. But we can't continue to pick up the tab for the rest of the world.
Are there any Republicans in Washington right now that you think are, who are carrying that message?
Well, I think politicians in general have us in the situation that we're in, which is the world policeman. So this is a shift of thought that absolutely has to take place, and it has to take place in the context that we're bankrupt. And when you talk about slashing government spending, when you talk about balancing the budget, guess what? Defense is one of those things that's got to be on the table.
Thanks very much for joining us, Governor.
Thank you.